Hey everybody, today I'm talking about Hats, which is a 2 to 4 player card game that takes around 20 minutes to play, and this one came out in 2019 to relatively little fanfare. Now, I did say this game takes 2 to 4 players, however, if you do play with 4 players, the game rules are tweaked slightly as you are forced to play in teams, so 2 teams of 2, of course. So let's take a look at how the game actually plays out and how the board state is going to look. So you're going to have this central board here, with some cards dealt out randomly on all these spots, and as you can see, all these spots have a number assigned to them, and this is important because at the end of the game, every card of this certain type you have in your tableau is going to be worth the number of points next to that spot. So for example, these ones here are going to be worth 6 points each, whereas the orange ones would be worth 5 points each, but if there's ever a duplicate on the board, then it's going to go to the lowest one. So in this case, the orange ones are going to be worth 4 points each. All blue cards are going to be worth 3 points each. The pinks are going to be worth 2s, and these ones here are going to be worth 1. However, that could change as the game goes on, so it is quite a dynamic board state, and the value of things are going to change throughout. You also have this cookie token here, which is going to give the player with the most different types of cards in their tableau a bonus 5 points. So at the start of the game, everybody is going to get given 9 cards in their hand, and that is not going to change. So once you've played through through 8 cards, then the end game is going to be triggered, and there's an additional scoring based on the card you've got left in your hand, which is called your favourite hat, which we'll talk about shortly. So let's talk about all the different actions you can take in hats and how you are going to win the game. So the main action, and I suppose you could call it the most common action you're going to use, is to exchange cards. So you're going to take one of the starting cards in your hand and exchange it with one of the cards on the board here. And to do that, you have to abide by one of 2 different restrictions. The first restriction is that it has to be of the same card type. So for example, I could swap this 3 here with this one here, because they're a matching symbol, and I'd replace it and put this one in front of me for scoring purposes. So at the moment, this card is going to be worth 6 points because that's how much that particular suit of cards is going to be worth. The second restriction I can do is that I can choose to replace a card that is lower value than the card I play. So for example, if I wanted to replace this orange hat here, that's a 2, with this blue one, I can, because it's actually a 3. So again, I'll put that one on the board and put this one in front of me, all the while checking what these cards are going to be worth, because of course that is going to determine who wins the game. So that is one of the main action that you're going to take. The second action you can take is to actually play one of these cards face down in front of you like so, which counts as a black hat. So this is essentially just going to be worth 1 point at the end of the game, but it does count to the different types of hats that you have available to you in purpose of getting this cookie. So I'd have 3 different types at the moment, which means that I'd have the most, for example, and we'll be getting that 5 points at the end of the game. There is also a bonus action that you can choose to take by discarding a card. So for example, if I didn't want this card here, I could discard it and draw a new one from the deck into my hand and carry on, and that doesn't waste an action. So that is going to be how the game is going to play out until all your cards bear 1 have been used, and then scoring will be calculated. So let's talk about how scoring works using this as an example. So I've got my 8 cards played out, and I've got my favourite hat here, which I'll talk about shortly. So first off, you're going to look at the value of each of these cards. So the blue cards here are going to be worth 3 points each for a total of 6 points. The pink card is going to be worth 2 points. These chicken cards are going to be worth a massive 18 points because, again, the chicken is set to 6, and I've got 3 of those cards. The black hat is always going to be worth 1, and these orange cards here are going to be worth 4 points each, so for a bonus 4 points there. The favourite hat works slightly differently, where the 1 card remaining left in your hand, so again, you played 8 cards and you start with 9, so the 1 card you have left, you're going to pick your favourite hat, so again, blue, and you're going to deduct the card that you have in your hand's value, so the 1 here, from the total here. So you've got 4, 5, 6, 7 for a total of 6 bonus points. So that's how the favourite hat works. And of course, the player with the most different types of hats is going to get the bonus cookie there for a bonus of 5 points. And So as you could see from the demonstration there, the game itself is pretty simple, just with those two choices to be made. However, when you actually come to playing the game, it actually does make you think in quite a different perspective than a lot of these other card games do, particularly because you do not know what the value of these cards are going to be, and in order to actually acquire the cards that you think are going to be the most valuable, you're going to have to forsake that style of card, or at least one of a higher value. So, of course, if I wanted another chicken here, which are going to be worth the 6 points, I'm either going to have to give up another chicken, so because it's the same type, and add that to my tableau, hoping that I have another chicken to be played to get another one to get the real big points. So sometimes this is a game where you have to temporarily give things up in the hope that you're going to get them back and to score them at the end, because it's not like you just play them directly in front of you on your tableau. You temporarily have to put them on display for anybody else to take as well. And of course, when it is another player's turn, they could have the same idea in mind and choose to grab that card from you if they have the same type of card or have a higher value. And at the same time, there are weird things going on as well, because if even though this 6 might be occupied with one of these chicken cards, somebody else might come and maybe tank the value of that card. For example, they could play a 4 chicken down here, or a hen I suppose you can call it, onto this spot here. Now all of a sudden, although there's 2 hens on the board, the lowest one is going to be the scoring card. So all this time, or as the game develops, the board state and the value of things is going to be dynamically changing, the values are going to be shifting, and you want to end the game at a point that's going to suit you the best. So it really is kind of one of those games where you are spinning plates and just trying to just keep that needle in the zone that you want it to be in when it comes to scoring. I will say that I do like the pacing of this game. You do start the game with only 9 cards, and therefore you're getting 9 decisions or 8 decisions to be made throughout the game, because of course you keep that special hat in your hand, or your favourite hat in your hand for that end game scoring, which is another decision to be made, because of course you want to keep a 1 value in your hand back, because you're only going to have to deduct the 1 from the total of that column. But you want to be acquiring a lot of a certain type of cards so that you can actually get the maximum amount of points there. And of course, you want to get the higher value of those cards. You want the 6s, you want the 5s and the 4s. But at the same time, even if you started to acquire a big column of a certain type of colour, then again, players are going to try and tank that colour to make it worth less and less points. So again, another decision there to be made, and a kind of passive player interaction, or I suppose you could call it direct player interaction, as you are constantly worrying what your other players are doing, what they're going to benefit from, and who's going to get the net gain out of each card's placement on this board here. Also, the game does say this takes about 20 to 30 minutes to play. I would say that's untrue. This game actually takes a lot quicker than that. Because you are only playing 8 cards and most of these decisions are pretty snappy and fast, I would say you can get this comfortably done in about 15 minutes. So if you want that quick card game you can get out there, this is certainly one to go to. The rules overhead isn't difficult. However, the scoring is something to wrap your head about, and how you're actually going to play the cards in front of you is quite a bit different to a lot of other games of this style. The replayability, I know this is a tactical style game, however there is some depth here, and I do find that with games with depth do have the longevity and do stand the test of time a lot better than other card games. And again, this game isn't a game with no decisions. It isn't a game that you're just going through the motions and trying to hope it works out for you. You do have to think about the board state. You do have to think about what you're investing in, and the decisions are there in this one. So bear that in mind. That is going to inject some life into this game and keep it getting to the table more than your average style of card game. The aesthetics of the game I think is wonderful. This card artwork of all these different hats based on these fairy tales is wonderfully done. I think it looks extremely nice. So the card quality as well is good. They have this kind of linen finish, which is nice. I like the fact that the reverse side of the card is like a bonus hat. It's going to contribute to this additional 5 points you can get by owning the cookie. And not only that, this little napkin mat here, which you can use to do the scoring at the end of the game, is well done. It all just thematically comes together in a nice little kind of fairy tale-esque package. Even the box itself looks great. It's a real striking look, and it looks like a book. And I love these magnetized book style games. I think they just look wonderful on the shelf. So production, as far as a card game goes, is top quality. The progression of the game is quite strange because, of course, the value of things can turn or just change in a heartbeat. 1 minute this is worth loads of points, then it's worth nothing. So it is quite swingy in that aspect, and you do have to be wary of that. And maybe you can kind of mitigate that by investing or at least placing another one of your investment cards on another spot, so at least you have a backup. But of course, if that doesn't pay off, then you are going to, or if you do have both of those on the board at the end, then it's going to be worth the lower amount. So all these little elements do add a bit of depth to this game that isn't quite apparent the first time you play it. And I will say this is one of those games that you do need to play at least a couple of games for that penny to drop and to understand the nuance and the refinement of how your choices are going to affect the outcome of it. Because when I played this initially, I thought, what am I doing here? This seems a bit of a silly game. It feels like you're just doing things for the sake of it, and it's a bit wild and random. But you'll quickly understand that is not the case at all, and the actual decisions you made are very important, and it certainly isn't a game that you can just wing and hope it works out for you. So overall, I'm actually pretty impressed by Hats. I think this is certainly an above average style card game. It plays quickly. There's some weird mechanisms here and some weird choices, as again, you have to play cards or give them away in order to get other ones, which normally means that you are leaving things vulnerable for your opponents to take. And these little decisions are things that keep me interested in card games like this, where you do have to think about what every move you make, especially in a game like this where you only actually have 8 decisions to be made from start to finish. And are you going to invest big in your favourite hat? Are you going to try and spread yourself a bit thinner to get these to get the special cookie? Of course, you want to keep all your cards that you've invested in the top spots here. Other people are going to try stop that, and it's a nice dynamic game that, again, it can feel a bit swingy at times if it does go that way. I will say that I think this game plays best at 3 players. It still works perfectly fine at 2, but I would think that I think that the teams version of the game just seems a bit unnecessary. So if you're looking for a game that works extremely well at 3 players, this is one to go for, because I know a lot of card games don't peak at 3 players. And Hats certainly does. I think that maybe the whole Hats name and the although it looks beautiful, I think this is going to limit somewhat of the market that's going to go for this, because I don't think a lot of people are going to want to play a game about hats. But the game itself is wonderful, and it could be reskinned into anything. And this is certainly a little gem, and I think this one should, or if the word had spread about it at the time, it's a couple of years old now, and I don't hear anybody talking about this one. And I know the people who do talk about this one and have played it do seem to enjoy it. And although I don't think it's one of the best card games out there, there are better things on the market. If you want something a bit different, you want to try something and take a break from the normal card games that you play again and again, then give Hats a go, because it is solid, it works well, and it's just different and weird. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you found it useful or at least somewhat entertaining, then please hit like and consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Additionally, if you wish to support the show, because I am a one-man operation and I don't get any support from publishers, then please consider backing on Patreon at patreon.com/chairman of the board, where you can back for as little as £2 per month. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.